Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to these tea and slide sessions from the HBP, and I hope everybody will have a great time today. We have a really super interesting topic that I think brings many ideas to our heads and emotions as well. So today we have the pleasure of having Dr. Inga Ulnicane, who is a social scientist working on governance of science, technology, and innovation. She is a senior researcher fellow at the Montfort University at the UK. And Inga is part of the responsible research and innovation team of the Human Brain Project. And she chairs a project-wide dual use working group. Her research focuses on governance of artificial intelligence, dual use, science and technology policy. And today we have the great pleasure of having her present her latest insights on this topic. And we invite you to write your questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom interface, so that we can discuss very lively about this topic together with her in the next minutes. So without further taking further time from you, Inga, please, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about our research here. It's always a special honor to talk at HBP Education events and discuss social aspects of technology with a very interdisciplinary HBP student and young researchers community. That is always very special. And today I will talk about our research on responsible artificial intelligence. And I will start telling a little bit about the context of our research, and then I will discuss some highlights, some key messages from our research. So I will start a little bit with a broader context of our research. So as you might have noticed, in recent years, artificial intelligence has got a lot of attention, not only within scientific community, but also within broader society, within also from media and from policymakers. And within Human Brain Project, also artificial intelligence has been on the agenda. It has also been on the agenda of Ethics and Society team of the Human Brain Project. And Ethics and Society team has done a lot of work on societal and ethical and philosophical aspects of artificial intelligence. And one of key milestones coming from Ethics and Society team is this opinion on trust and transparency in artificial intelligence. This opinion was published last year, and it sums up a lot of work from different partners. You can see there are quite a lot of authors of this opinion from different partner institutions. Our partners at Uppsala University, we're focusing on philosophical aspects. Danish Board of Technology consulted a lot of citizens and experts on artificial intelligence. King's College London undertook foresight exercises, and our team at the Montfort University was looking at the policy of artificial intelligence. Why policy of artificial intelligence is something worth looking at? Again, during past years, we have seen that many countries, many international organizations, and also many civil society organizations have come up with their own policies of artificial intelligence. They have launched, say, strategies, published different reports. And in these different documents, they have different stakeholders have defined their priorities, also what kind of challenges they see for artificial intelligence intelligence and how to address these challenges. And our team was looking on these priorities and challenges and also recommendations. And as there are quite a lot of these documents, we also needed a number of team members who can analyze these documents. And we were very happy that together with other colleagues from HBP team at the Montfort University, we also got some students joining us as research assistants, as interns, and they helped a lot also with analyzing these policy documents on artificial intelligence. And results of our analysis of our research, they contributed to the opinion, and they also led to a number of scientific publications. On this slide, you can see some publications which are already published, a number of scientific articles in different special issues dedicated to artificial intelligence, also a number of book chapters. And some more publications are under preparation. So it has been quite a broad research program. I can't tell all the insights and results of this research program today, but I will highlight some of the key messages which are important also for this broader interdisciplinary discussion about artificial intelligence. And one of the key messages coming from our research is that artificial intelligence, as every technology, it's not just technical, it is also social. Artificial intelligence has very important social, political, and cultural aspects, which means that it's not just a tool or instrument that can be used for certain goals, but that it is co-created and co-shaped with society, and it is deeply embedded in social, political, and economic and cultural systems. And as artificial intelligence, as it's not only technical, but that it has major societal implications, as we see in many different spheres of life, on welfare states, on democracy, and so on. So it means that it can't be just left to technical experts, just scientists from STEM disciplines, and just the geeks, because it doesn't affect just geeks, it affects everyone. And that's why it is important to have interdisciplinary collaborations and also transdisciplinary collaborations. Interdisciplinary collaborations means that we bring together different disciplines, so also social scientists, humanities researchers who can contribute their expertise on cultural and political and social aspects of technology. And transdisciplinary collaborations means that we bring also different social groups which are affected by technologies and which have their own experience and also their own expertise on how artificial intelligence affects their life. So this interdisciplinary collaborations are very important to look on the social aspects of artificial intelligence. And here, one very important term is responsible research and innovation. And responsible research and innovation in recent years have been widely used in Europe, different organizations, different universities. We are also using it a lot to guide our work in the Human Brain Project to look on societal and ethical aspects of neuroscience and neurotechnology. And what does the responsible research and innovation mean? In a nutshell, it means aligning research and innovation with societal needs and values. And here you can also see one definition coming from European Union Horizon program, which highlights how important this responsible research and innovation is for thinking very carefully and early what are potential implications of research and innovation, what are societal expectations, and how to facilitate that technology develops in an inclusive and sustainable manner. And there are a number of processes and structures how to align this technology and also in this case artificial intelligence with societal expectations. And for example, we talk about area framework, namely about anticipation, reflection, engagement, and action to help to develop technology in socially beneficial way. Now, when we consider this responsible research and innovation and think about artificial intelligence and all the discussions in past years about artificial intelligence, then question is, can we really say that artificial intelligence as it is today, that it is responsible artificial intelligence, that it is aligned with societal interests? That is an open question, and I hope we can come back to this in our discussion. And I would also like to hear what are your views on that. But overall opinion and also overall trends are that there are major challenges in aligning artificial intelligence with societal expectation. And two very important challenges here is one, that development of artificial intelligence is very much concentrated in a small number of big tech companies, and that there is also very high dominance of technical expertise. And there's also a lot of thinking how to mitigate these challenges and what would be recommendations. And some of key recommendations here is that it's important to assign active roles to the government and public in the development and use of artificial intelligence. So that government is also taking active roles, thinking about risk mitigation and also enabling public participation and thinking about different ways to include social groups in development of artificial intelligence. What we have seen in recent years that there is a lot of initiatives to create multi-stakeholder forums, which also includes not only experts, but also, for example, disadvantaged groups to bring their views and contribute to development of AI. But what we have seen with these forums that sometimes it's also a challenge to get everyone involved and everyone contribute. And there is this problem that we call in social sciences collective action problem. Namely, when there are all these multi-stakeholder forums, still those actors, those stakeholders who have most resources, either economic resources or also expertise, that they tend to dominate. So there are a lot of challenges to make artificial intelligence truly inclusive. And that is also one of the reasons behind many of concerns that have been raised, for example, about fairness of artificial intelligence, about distribution of benefits. And that's why it is so crucial that there is this inclusion and there is this representation of different disciplines and different social groups to ensure that AI is not only developed with economic interests and profits in mind, but also address societal issues and sustainability. And that it's not only about technical fixes, but looking on a broader range of problems. For example, one problem that we see a lot in with artificial intelligence is related to bias. Why it was expected that artificial intelligence will help to mitigate human bias. What we have seen that very often it actually amplifies human bias. And sometimes then there are suggestions to make just some quick technical fixes. For example, we just clean some data set and then it is solved. But it's important to look on these broader societal aspects, also how it relates to structural inequalities which have for a long time already existed in society. So to sum up, key messages from this short talk is that AI is social, political, and cultural, not just technical and economic. That responsible artificial intelligence requires meaningful participation and choices of diverse disciplines and social groups. Currently, we are not there yet because there's still a strong dominance of big tech companies and technical expertise. But this inclusive AI development and use is crucial to address this broader range of societal issues. With that, I thank you and I look very much forward to discussion and your questions. But before we go into discussion, I just wanted to mention that I will also share slides, and at the end of slides, you will also see some references. And I would in particular like to mention reference numbers 2, which is a library of AI images. And that is very interesting initiative on better images of artificial intelligence that comes from a longer discussion that a lot of images that are used to illustrate news about artificial intelligence is that they might be misleading or even harmful, all these shiny robots and blue brains. And that's why it's so important to think about different new ways to depict also artificial intelligence. And you might have seen that I used their images in my presentation, and I suggest that you also look it up, and it might be interesting also to use for your own activities. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Inga, for this very nice talk. And yeah, now we are open for questions. So you can either write them on the Q&A, or if you want to actually talk, you can also raise your hand and you can have the opportunity to say your question. While our attendees are formulating their questions, maybe I can start with one from my side. So I think one important question that comes up to us who work in the neighboring fields of neuroscience and are in direct or indirect contact with AI is how can we become more responsible researchers in AI? So what is which things we can do today in practice to, let's say, better communicate how our solutions in AI work to the general public, or what can we do to ensure that our AI solutions will hopefully be used for the right thing and not for the wrong thing? What are your first initial guidelines for us?
Thank you very much. That's really important question. And there are several things that researchers can do. And one thing is to start to think about the societal implications early on in their work, in their research, in developing their technologies, to think what are potential uses, what might be misuses, who will be affected, how they will be affected, what might also be unintended uses and unintended effects. And very important, it is nice that you mentioned the communication with public, but responsible research and innovation would actually suggest that not only communicating with them one way, explaining them, but also bringing them in, so including them, listening to them as well, so that it's a two-way communication, and that the society also has an opportunity to shape development of AI. And so that is very important that researchers think about this, but responsible AI and responsible research and innovation, it's not just about responsibility of individual researchers. It's very important that there is also governance that supports researchers. And that's, for example, why in Human Brain Project, we have all these structures and processes and ethics rapporteurs and ways to raise concerns and get advice and discuss these things, so that there is really support, that there are networks that can help, because of course it could be too much for individual researchers. So these are some initial thoughts, and I can again say that if you want more, please look up this Ethics and Society opinion on artificial intelligence, which also came up with a number of recommendations for Human Brain Project on AI.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Inga. We have a question in the Q&A section. Abderrahman Faraz, he says that maybe it's a little bit on the neighboring area of this talk, but he's a psychiatrist and would like to get into the field of AI. So maybe at this point, we can, of course, encourage you to get in contact with other researchers in the AI community and see what other people are doing in interesting sections. But also maybe Inga has some highlights for you on what, from the psychiatry perspective, you could bring towards AI in terms of how to make it also more yes, suitable to support the requirements of that field. So we are there thinking about mental health and understanding the mechanisms of thinking. So it has, of course, two components, right? So from one side, you can inform AI about these processes, how they work, but you can also use AI as a tool in your work as a psychiatrist. So these are two things, and they complement each other, I think, a lot. So maybe, I don't know, Inga, do you have any thoughts there about how this complementary work takes place and should take place, or ideally would take place in order to ensure responsible AI in action?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm reading that question, and it also says, how can a psychiatrist get into the field of AI and its application in the neuroscience field? And I'm not sure if a colleague who is asking this, I think it's probably not an HBP member. I think so. So my suggestion would be also to get in touch with HBP, because HBP is really working on field of AI and its application in neuroscience field. So I would suggest to look up work of HBP and also work of eBrains and building eBrains communities, because I think there would be a lot of useful contacts in this field.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Inga. Then we have another question by Sven Nyholm. Says, hi Inga, do you think responsible AI means amounts to the same thing in all domains? So should we think of responsible AI in different ways for different contexts, like in healthcare against military context and so on?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a very interesting question, because if we if we think about responsible AI and responsible research and innovation, there are some overarching guidelines about anticipation, about inclusion, about reflection, which are overarching. But then in different fields, it probably will mean very, very different things. If we think about healthcare, then it's a lot about involving patients and about patients' rights and collaboration with patients. If we think about militaries, that is a bit more tricky, because we know that military field is also much more closed for all kinds of reasons. And there is not so much public participation in making military decisions, but we have seen this discussion in recent years on lethal autonomous weapon systems. So in a nutshell, my reply to Sven, if it amounts to the same thing in all domains, I would say there are some overarching principles about, for example, inclusion of diverse stakeholders, but also every field has its own specifics in terms of questions, in terms who the stakeholders are. So it needs also tailoring these overarching principles to specific fields.
Okay, thank you very much, Inga. We have another question. The next question is by Alper Yegenoglu, and he's asking, you mentioned that big tech companies are dominating the development and shaping the image of AI, which is mostly an economic drive. what can we as scientists do to counteract the big companies with a more ethical perspective and be more responsible? Under your perspective, forcing it by means of policies or politics the only way?
Mm-hmm. This is, thank you very much for questions. This is really great and very, very crucial question, because that is indeed, we see it again and again, that a lot of AI development actually happens in companies, and there are major resource requirements that also only companies have. And then question is indeed, what can universities, what can research centers do? And that is a very, very difficult question. I don't think I have an immediate answer to that. But yes, one thing would be also to speak up and to provide alternative spaces for development of artificial intelligence as an alternative to these dominating tech companies and their profit motives, and join the forces with other scientists from different disciplines who are thinking about developing artificial intelligence for more socially beneficial purposes, who are thinking more, for example, about sustainable AI. And that could be one way to think about it. But yeah, it's a bit limited answer to very, very crucial and big questions that should keep us all thinking.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Inga. I don't know if there are any other questions. We had a comment in the chat saying that Aikta Shah says, I'm a pathologist by profession from India, and I want to know how to connect to the Human Brain Project. I added a few links in the chat. Feel free to visit our websites, both the humanbrainproject.eu as well as the eBrains website. The eBrains is the infrastructure that we're building together to do brain research, and in both you will be able to find points of contact. Send us a message, and that would be very important. Also, there's a message there from the education program. We're always happy to know more from you on that side as well. Yeah, I don't see more questions, but I do have further questions for you, Inga. So maybe we can trigger more discussion on this. I have a question about policy, and under your perspective, at this point, how deep has policy gone into, let's say, training, education, and this type of means that allow us to form new engineers, new developers, new doctors, new researchers in all the different fields of society. So are we really taking policy inside our education programs, or is it still a little bit far away?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, because that is also a very interesting question in many ways, because what we have also seen in the field of AI, that these big tech companies have actually, there has been brain drain from academia of scientists towards these big tech companies. So taking the best and brightest minds from academia to big tech companies. And question about having researchers within universities and research system is very, very important. And different countries come with their own initiatives. For example, in UK, there is a lot of funding for AI PhDs, so mostly in technical fields. And then again, this very important question is, if these AI, new PhDs trained in AI, if they also get an education as part of the education, also education on the societal and ethical aspects, to think also about societal implications of the technologies, and also see that development of technologies, which is very, very crucial for the responsible AI, the development of technologies, it's not inevitable. So sometimes in discussions, it shows that like AI is inevitable and you can't do anything, but it's not inevitable. It is a choice. It is a choice made by many people. And it's important that diverse voices are participating in this choice when and how AI is used or is not used. Because there are also things when not to use AI. For example, there are discussions about lethal autonomous weapons. Should they be banned? Or facial recognition, should they be banned? And so it's very important to understand that this is choice. It's not inevitable.
Yeah, I think that is really, really important that gets transferred also to society, no? That it is our choice as human kind to decide where we're going. Sometimes we feel a little bit left outside of this choice, but maybe it's not that much, especially today with probably more ways to raise our voice, as you said before, right? So we have more means to say, hey, this should not go that direction, maybe. Okay, thank you very much on that. And well, I have a final question for you. Again, going to the practical side, let's say that I am developing some super fancy and nice AI for my neuroscience research. And as you well suggested, I identified that it can be extremely useful to battle a very bad disease, but it can also be used very, very badly in the future by a specific group that I have already identified, and I have a lot of questions about it. What do I do now? Who I tell first? How do I document this correctly? And how do I share this with my fellow researchers and with my neighbor even? How should I talk about this with my family, or should I?
Exactly. This is what many scientists ask. Should we talk also about these negative effects? Because scientists are also, in today's governance, scientists are under extreme pressure to publish, to get their own grant. And sometimes these pressures coming from governance are silencing them. So it's very good that you are raising this question and about ways to talk. So in Human Brain Project, it would be good to start talking with your ethics rapporteurs, talking with responsible research and innovation team, and to see what can be done. Can it be somehow adjusted? Should there be for a while some self-imposed moratoriums that we have seen in other fields of technology? So there are a lot of instruments, and it is really, really crucial that there are ways to talk about this, and also that this is not, it is important to think also that this requires a bigger governance change, because it shouldn't be that somebody who starts thinking and talking about them, that it damages their careers, that they are not rushing for their next publication with this, that they are not rushing with their next grant with this. And we can see what we can do at organizational level, at project level, but we also have to think that this requires also changes in policy level.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what happens if this person says, okay, I'm not going to do this because it can be dangerous. But then someone comes and says, well, I think I will do it. I don't care about the bad consequence. And I still will do that. Unless we put a safety net around it, it could be very problematic, right? I mean, yes. We're all open to, I think most scientists, we want our ideas to spread and to be discussed. And maybe it is also a matter of developing a new language to talk about this. Something that we can use both to talk with different levels of society, but even that we can use to feed back into the the same AI systems, no? So something that can be reused even to talk back to our AI as it develops in the future. Many interesting questions also from the communications perspective and the linguistics perspective, indeed.
And much work to do also for our interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary collaborations.
Indeed. We have a new question. Arlene Salas, she's asking, hi Inga, the advantages of interdisciplinarity when discussing these issues is widely discussed. Are there any drawbacks to interdisciplinary discussion and from your perspective?
Thank you, Arlene, for this question. That is a very good question. It's very relevant for AI, and it's also has a broader relevance for HBP and many other projects. There are certainly drawbacks because one thing is that interdisciplinary research can be much slower, because we have to learn about each other disciplines. It really takes time just to start understand what other scientists coming from different backgrounds is actually talking about. So it can be very time consuming. It takes a lot of effort to learn, to interact with other disciplines, and not only very superficially, but really have some solid understanding what these people are talking about. So this can be, as I said, very time consuming, take a very long time. And it could also the governance structure is sometimes of science very much related to disciplines. Journals sometimes are very much discipline oriented. You submit your interdisciplinary article and they said, well, but what is the contribution to this discipline? Or also all the career systems and funding systems can be very disciplinary oriented. So there are also, I wouldn't say drawbacks, I would more say that there are all kinds of hampering factors that make interdisciplinary collaboration very difficult.
Okay, thank you very much, Arlene, for your question, and Inga for your answer. So I think we have reached almost the end of our session. I don't see other questions in the Q&A. And I think we had a very nice time today. I hope all of the attendees really enjoyed the discussion here, the nice talk with Inga. And I hope that we get many more opportunities to talk with you, Inga, in the future. I think this is a really essential topic for many young researchers, and also all researchers. So we would be happy to see you again in the different contexts of the education program. And to all the participants, please feel free to contact Inga with other questions. Her email address is in the chat. And of course, you can always contact the education program email if you have further questions about the HBP or e-brains or any related topics. So thanks again, Inga, for your nice presentation, for your nice perspectives and answers. And thank you, everybody, for participating on today's session. And yeah, see you in the next TN Slides session. Don't miss it. And if you have something that you want to share, contact us as well, because you could be the next one doing a presentation here and sharing with us your thoughts and your research. Thank you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.